I wrote a novel! I should practice these things beforehand. I was supposed to swing around, but that's alright. Follow me on my journey. Well, welcome to Chapter 9 of A Writer's Journal, and I can't believe it's Chapter 9 already. And last week I was talking about really investing some money in a full-blown professional editor. It turned out to be a lot more money than I thought it would be, but I'll tell you, it was worth it. I mean, if I was serious about wanting to get this published, and if you're serious about wanting to get something published, you're going to have to pay for it, and with no necessarily expectation that you're going to make the money back overnight, or even at all, because I'm not in this for the money, and you're probably better off not being in it for the money. At any rate, I set this up with Julie. It was about 6 months after I contacted her and we agreed to everything. And she was going to do a macro edit first, where you basically look for, well, anything that she finds along the way. She commented to me, but she was mainly looking at how the plot flowed, how it fit together, if there were any holes that were really big. But she also she looked for point of view, and she looked for show not tell, but basically large things. So that was the first shot at it, and then she sent that back to me. I fixed it as much as I could, and then I sent it back to her, and then she did a line edit, and I'll talk about line editing next week. So it was basically this macro edit, and so it went off to her. She was not going to get it done in a week. I think it was about 6 weeks that she had it before she got it back to me. And at first I was just going to sit there and twiddle my thumbs and wait for it to come back before I did any work. But then I decided I really should be thinking about this and sort of anticipating what she might be saying, or thinking about anything that I might want to change as well. So I went through it, and here's something that I discovered, at least for me, it worked really well. Hearing it read, I mean, I printed it out and I read it, the printed version. I had it on the computer, and I would read it on the screen. And I think from the standpoint of my own editing of what I was doing, the least valuable was the stuff on the screen of the computer. The second most valuable was the stuff printed out. And for some reason, and I've heard this from other writers, that just seems to work a lot better for editing. Not that you shouldn't do it from the stuff on the screen. It helped. But what really helped me was I got a program, and there are several of them out there that will do this, and they're not very expensive at all. I got a program that will actually read out loud the text. And so I had it read it to me. So during this 6-week period, I had this thing read to me. And there's something about hearing it that helps you to locate things that you might have missed just by looking at it. It not only helped me with some of the little details in terms of a sentence that doesn't make sense or something like that, but it also helped me just to get the flow, to sit and listen to it chapter by chapter, and think about it. And I had it read to me not once. I must have had it read to me about 5-6 times over this period while I was waiting for Julie to get it back to me. And it was just very useful. I could begin to recognize when I was doing something right. I could begin to recognize when I was doing something wrong. So I sat there and waited for this macro edit to come, and I did that. I listened to it. I made changes. I had to be careful because I knew she was going to have changes, and I didn't want to get things mixed up. So I made sure that I used the markup procedures that are available in Word, though I did use Scrivener for most of the writing of this, to kind of keep track of changes I was making while Julie had it. I don't know whether or not that's whether some writers, I'm just new to this, whether some writers would say just don't mess with it because of the hard part of merging it. And there is something to say, by the way, and I know I'm kind of rambling here, there is something to say about putting it down and not looking at it for a while. That was hard for me to do. But eventually I would put it down for 3 or 4 days and not look at it. And then when I pick it up and have it read to me, it was easier for me to critique it for some reason. So that's another thing that you might do during this period of time while it's out with the editor, is give yourself a holiday from it and then jump into it again later. So that was it was a relatively long 6-week period because it was the first time I've ever had anything edited professionally, with the exception of the nonfiction textbooks and stuff I wrote, but that's an entirely different world. So having the book read to me, thinking about it, making some obvious corrections, helped pass the time. But still I was just real excited to see what she would do, especially since I thought I was beginning to get a handle on show, not tell, and point of view. I was kind of hoping there wouldn't be a lot of that in there. That hope was unfounded, however, as I'll talk about. So we're getting up to almost 7 minutes here. So that's what I want you to remember from this is basically it's out to the editor. It's okay to start looking at it. It's good to have it read to you. And it's really nice that the computer programs will do that for you. And it's also good to kind of think about it based on what you hear as well as what you saw. But it also is a trying time because it's your baby and it's not in your hands anymore. And you don't know what this other person is going to do with it. And ultimately, and I'll talk more about this, there was a level of trust that had to build up between Julie and myself because it wasn't just back row edit. She gave it to me and then she waited for me to give it to her to do the line edit. She was willing to take some of the changes I made and look at them before she went to the line edit. And so there became a dialogue between us. And I'll talk more about that next week or the week after as well. So just be patient and find some things that you can do that are constructive while you're waiting for the macro edit to come back. So we'll talk about the rest of it next week. In the meantime, remember to subscribe. Give a big thumbs up to this if you liked it, what was said. And if you have any comments about your experiences with editors, your first time experiences, whatever, or what you would like me to talk about, put those in the comment field as well. And so that'll be it for chapter 9. And just have fun writing.